Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Todd Klindt's Netcast, SharePoint or otherwise, number 187, recorded live on Monday, February 3rd, 2014. I am your host and the Super Bowl LVP, the least valuable player. I was actually the guy calling all the plays for the Broncos. It was, sorry about that. But I'm Todd Klindt, and I'm your host this evening. Tonight's fun and frivolity, all of it, is sponsored by the fine, technically smart, and as good-looking as they are smart folks at Rackspace.com. They're the sponsor of this. They're also my employer. But if you want to find out what's going on, you can go to SharePoint.Rackspace.com. There's a contact us thing there. You can shoot us an email. Just kind of say hey, see what's going on. There's videos there. There's blog posts. There's all kinds of fun stuff at SharePoint.Rackspace.com. And if you do leave them a note, tell them Todd sent you. And then when they ask Todd who, tell them me, and then say the guy. Anyway, but do me a solid. I appreciate that. We will slide right into the production notes. Production last week was pretty good. First week with the new pop filter, and it seemed to go over, be a big hit. So working with it again tonight. Having some trouble. The cable that holds the pop filter up keeps poking me in the chest. I'm kind of getting the wrong idea. It's kind of getting fresh with me, but I'm fighting with it a little bit. Was playing with it a little bit before the show. I think we almost got something worked out here. But the pop filter seems to be working well, so I'll probably keep using that. Plus, it kind of partially obscures my face. Have been no complaints about that whatsoever. So less pops, less face. Everybody wins. Got my blog post out sooner than normal, and it turns out this week it was YouTube that was slow because I just forgot to upload it. I thought I did, and then I didn't. And then RSS was slow. Now, one thing I've done is I have actually subscribed to my own feed on my phone, and so I was just screwing around. I was looking at my phone. I'm like, I'm missing one. So I apologize for that. Next week will be out sooner, I promise. Now, I talked a little bit about last week. I'm automating pieces of the Netcast, and I started working this week on automating the RSS creation because the RSS feed is just a big XML file, and every Netcast is an item inside of that. So I'm automating creating that big chunk of XML in PowerShell. And that's actually why the RSS feed was slow, because instead of actually creating the feed, I started playing with PowerShell and I kind of got lost and run down the weeds. So I've got that partially done, but hopefully in the next week or two we'll have that done, and then it'll be even easier. Just run it and it'll create all that for me. So thanks for your patience on those. So topics, we got a lot of topics tonight, and they are all over the board. So if your chair has a seatbelt, you should probably do that. If you're in your car, you're gonna have to focus on the road because we are again going to be all over the place with this Netcast tonight. But it's all good stuff. It's all been properly vetted. I've got adult supervision when I make my notes, so it's all good stuff. So the first thing that I have to talk about, and I would be remiss if I didn't lead off tonight's discussion with this. This is a topic that has been bantied about and discussed for, I bet, almost a year now. Yeah, probably close to a year. And that is the future of InfoPath. So finally, last week on the 31st, Microsoft finally confirmed what we were all suspecting, and that is that InfoPath is dead. Spill out some water for our fallen homie here. Excuse me. Now, like I said, the number of surprised people when this post came out, 0. It was on the official Office blog, blogs.office.com. You can go there. And essentially what Microsoft said is that the version of InfoPath that is out there, so InfoPath Client 2013 and InfoPath Forms Services in SharePoint 2013 are the last version. That's it. There will be no more versions of InfoPath. And Lori in the chat room did mention this. Yeah, so it's been well over a year since SharePoint Conference 2012 where people really started worrying about this. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that the differences between InfoPath 2010 and 2013, some people say there are no differences. Those people are wrong. There are absolutely differences. For instance, when the splash screen comes up in InfoPath 2010, the last number is a 0. When the splash screen comes up with InfoPath 2013, the last number, a 3. So that's one big change right there. That might be the big change. But InfoPath 2010, use it to fill out forms and all that kind of stuff. InfoPath 2013 comes out, and there's really no changes to it. And so people started wondering, what the future was. At SharePoint Conference in 2012, I believe there was one session that had the word InfoPath in it, and that was done by my friend Dervish Shadravan, and he spent like 30 seconds mentioning InfoPath, and the rest of it was talking about access services. And I'm pretty sure the 30 seconds he spent talking about InfoPath was just to explain, we're not going to talk about InfoPath. And then he moved on. And there was just no InfoPath content out at the SharePoint conference. And there were a bunch of people in that session because it was the only one that talked about InfoPath. And they got kind of angry. But there was just not much to say. So, but now we've got the official word. InfoPath is a dead product walking. The blog post talks about how it's going to be replaced by a combination of SharePoint and Access and Word, but they don't say a whole lot more than that. So part of it's going to be in the SharePoint interface. We've seen some of that. You can go in and customize the list view and things like that to kind of make it look formy. So they're kind of working that way. Access Services, the Access Services 2013, I think we already know that that's kind of moving that way, and Word. Now, they did say that there's going to be more information about that at the SharePoint Conference, and that SharePoint Conference is a month from today. Actually, a month from yesterday if you go to the pre-conference. So a month from today, when the SharePoint Conference comes up, there will be a InfoPath roadmap session. And so they're going to kind of answer a bunch more questions there. Now, for you folks that aren't going to the SharePoint Conference, first, I can only imagine how disappointed you must be to hear about all this great stuff going on, and you have my condolences. But if you're an InfoPath fanboy and you don't get to go to the SharePoint Conference, your boss has got you out there working in the fields, plowing rice or rustling up doggies or whatever you do. They have said that this life cycle, this InfoPath roadmap session will be available to stream afterwards. So I don't know if it will be right away, after it's done at the SharePoint conference, or if it will be like the next week or something like that. But that will be out there, so you'll be able to get all the same information that those of us at the SharePoint conference get. Trevor in the chat room is mentioning that the the InfoPath roadmap has a very abrupt dead end at the end, and that is absolutely true. There's no progress there. Now, the blog post is interesting. It's sort of light on details. Again, it doesn't say how SharePoint's going to be replaced by Access, or InfoPath is going to be replaced by SharePoint and Access and Word. But they do just say that it's going to go away. And then at the bottom, they have some, facts and all that. And one of them is, hey, I'm making forms today. What should I use? And they're like, you just keep trucking on with InfoPath. Yeah, we're killing it, and it's dead in the water. But you just keep on going with InfoPath. So that's kind of tough to swallow. The other thing that they say is there will be a migration path, but they haven't said what it's going to be. Now, another interesting thing is they talk about all of this, InfoPath client going away and InfoPath form services going away, but they're very clear that this is all on-premises stuff. So I don't know what's going to happen with SharePoint Online, Office 365, but it sounds like those paths are going to kind of diverge a little bit. So they want you to keep developing for InfoPath because there's, the next thing's not out yet. They don't know what the migration path will be, but there will be one. And they've said there'll be more information towards the end of the year, I think is what they say in the blog post. So there will be something. One thing I want to caution you about, though, if you are going to throw caution to the wind and continue to develop InfoPath forms because you trust and believe that there will be a migration path of some sort available, as when you're upgrading anything, the simpler your thing is, the more likely it will upgrade easily, or the more easily it will upgrade. So it's the same with SharePoint. If you've got a bunch of custom code and things like that, those are tough upgrades. So if your InfoPath form is using out-of-the-box things and not a lot of code in the background, it's probably going to update easier. So if you haven't written your form yet, keep that in mind as you're planning out what your form is going to be, because you're going to have to upgrade it to something at some point because it's going to be dead-ended. So be very careful, be very aware of that. Now, when they talk about it being dead-ended, there's kind of two points to that. Number one, there will not be any new versions. So the version that you have today, InfoPath 2013, is the last one there's going to be, but it will continue to be supported through 2023. They support it for 10 years. So you'll still be able to get updates if there's some massive security flaw that's found where somebody can hijack your form and use it to shave your cat or peel the wallpaper off your bathroom or something. If those kind of bugs are found, they'll still patch them, things like that, but there won't be any new versions. Only support through 2023. So that was kind of a big thing. That's been, like Lori said in the chat room, for over a year now. Since the last SharePoint conference, people have been murmuring about that and rumors and all that kind of stuff. The rumors are finally put to sleep. InfoPath is dead. If you're looking at other things, there are other products out there. I would be ashamed of myself if I didn't mention Nintex. A couple of good buddies of mine work out there. Mike Fitzmaurice, for one. They make a third-party forms product. You can't go wrong with that. So if you are looking for other forms things, definitely start with Nintex. All right, and apparently there's some form thing in Codeplex, forms7.codeplex.com. Who knows? You can't trust developers, so who knows what went out there. There are some rumors floating around that it's one of the guys in the chat room maybe. You never know, but that's another one too. I've never used it. I can't vouch for it, but that's another option out there. And if you have any questions about that, always there's comments for these blog posts or whatever. Let me know if you've heard any good juicy InfoPath rumors. It looks like Mark Rackley is the author of Forms 7. So InfoPath is dead. Again, the number of surprised people, exactly 0. All right, the next news is much, much happier news. For the last few months, we have a question in the chat room. Joanne Klein wants to know, is there a way to migrate InfoPath forms to Nintex forms? Honestly, Joanne, I don't know. I've never tried. Somebody else in the chat room might be able to help out. If not, shoot them an email. The guys at Nintex are awesome. They would do whatever for you. So, and I don't want to turn this into a paid advertisement for Nintex, but as this form thing is, people are scrambling. It's kind of scary. Nintex, I think, they might not anymore, I don't know, but Nintex at least used to license per server. So if you had 2 web front ends and 2 application servers, they licensed you per web front end. Pretty reasonable way. I know people have problems with that, but people who write software got to get paid somehow. So it's either number of users or it's web front ends or something like that. So Nintex did that. So I was with a customer and we were troubleshooting some things and they were running search. And so one of the things that I always do is I always point the search server at itself for indexing. A bunch of reasons why I do it, but I do that. And so the customer said, hey, I would do that. That's a great idea. Todd, you're as good looking as you are smart. They actually said that. They said, but we have Nintex, and if we turn that web front end role on our search server so that we can crawl it, then that triggers Nintex and we have to have another license for Nintex. And I said, okay, well, that makes perfect sense. I will talk to the guys at Nintex. So I emailed Mike Fitzmaurice, told him the story I just told you guys, and said, hey, can you help these people out? And Mike sent me back an email and got a hold of the customer. And his words were, of course we will do that. Give them a free license for their search server. His exact words would be, we'd be jerks if we didn't. So that's kind of the way that Nintex, that's just their philosophy. Now their licensing may have changed or whatever since then, I don't know, but that's the way they think. That's the way they operate. So if you're going to do something with forms, you're looking at moving on, there's some other options. So in the chat room, they're talking about Knowledge Lake and K2. Of course, Knowledge Lake is really only helpful if you scan them. Qdabra, that's another one. Qdabra does a bunch of InfoPath stuff. But so there's a lot of options out there. If it were me and I was a customer, knowing what I know, I would start at Intex. I'm sure the other ones are great, but I just know the guys at Intex. But I just love that line. We'd be jerks if we didn't. Of course, we'll take care of it. So that was good. And a shout out to Fitz. He's a great guy. All right. Okay. So again, on to happier news. For the last few months, I've been rocking this little number here, a new Nokia Lumia 920, and I've been a big fan of it. And this last week, the official black update came out for us. So that was the thing. A few months ago, you could download the developer preview, things like that. And now it's officially out. So if you have a Lumia 920 and you're in the US and on AT&T, which I think is the only way you can have a Lumia 920, go into your settings and software updates, and you can update your software and you'll get this black update. Now, if you're outside of the US, you've probably had this thing for a couple of weeks. Excuse me, for whatever reason, we got last or towards the end. So if you're in Germany or wherever, you've had this for a while. Us in the US just got it last week. So kind of cool. It'll take you 15-20 minutes to update your phone, and then you will have black. So you're probably asking yourself, what does the black update get me? So there are a few things that it gets you. The biggest one, and I had some trouble with this because I've had this developer preview thing on for a while. So then when it upgraded, I really didn't see any changes because I was kind of previewing the OS. But one of them is that glance screen that you see. So it's tough to tell now, but I got this background here, this glance background, the little Trans Am bird, and then I got a clock here. It's tough getting this, and then down here I've got the time and stuff. So what this is this is the powered off mode. So like if it was sitting in my pocket, the screen would be off. And depending on how you configure glance, you can tell that when it sees motion, I said when it sees motion, there it goes, it lights the screen up. So I don't have to turn the power on or anything like that. If I just pull it out of my pocket, it sees that motion, it shows me the time. Everybody uses their cell phone as a clock, and so this is great for that. And then you can tell this thing, I go to bed at 10 o'clock, so that instead of having the white letters, it turns them red, so it's nice at night, things like that. So that's one of the things that is in the black update. There's also support for a bunch of new programs. So one of the things that kind of separates the Lumia Windows phones from all the other ones is the camera applications. So with a regular Lumia, if you hold down, it's got a camera button here so that you can take pictures and hold the camera horizontally the way the good Lord intended, not vertically. So you can hold this camera button down, and when you have an out-of-the-box Lumia, when you hold that button down, you get the Windows Phone camera. And it's okay. It's a pretty good camera. But you could also download the Nokia camera, which was better in every way, every measurable way. It had like the smart focus thing, and it could take a series of pictures and all that. But the problem was if you made that your camera, when you held down the camera button, you had to unlock the phone. Whereas if you used the regular camera, you didn't have to. So now with the black update, now if you use the Nokia camera, you can also hold this button down, it jumps right to the camera. Pretty slick. And there's a bunch of different camera apps and the Storyteller app and those kind of things now that work with the black update. So if you've got it, go out there, upgrade your phone. Don't do it right now, for goodness sakes. Finish listening to this Netcast. It'll be done. It'll be out there when this Netcast is done. Don't do it right now. But after that, go out and get that black update. You will be happy that you did. Okay, so more great Windows Phone news. In Nokia's quest to have the Lumia 520 be the biggest selling phone of all time, they've come out with a new deal. And that new deal is that if you buy 1 year of Xbox Music for Windows Phone, you'll get a free Lumia 520 or 521. So 520 is the AT&T version, 521 is the T-Mobile version. So for $99, you get a year of Xbox Music. And Xbox Music is streaming music. I know a couple of people that use it. I know Lori in the chat room uses it. And you can go out and look for artists and set up playlists, and it's all streaming music. I don't remember if you get any MP3s to save for good, non-streaming, but it's good for that for 12 months. Also, if you have a Windows Phone, Xbox Music is how you wirelessly get music onto your phone. So of course I can hook up my phone with USB and copy files over to my computer, but man, wires are for weenies. This thing does wireless charging and all that. I never hook a cable up to this phone. So Xbox Music will also let you do all that. But now, if you buy a year of Xbox Music, whether you already have Xbox Music or not, so if you're like me and don't have it, if I buy it, I'll get a Lumia 520 for free. If you're like Lori and you already have it, if you spend the $99 and add a year out, you still get a Lumia 520 for free. So you're probably asking yourself, you're like, this is silly. Todd's already got a 920. Why in the world would he want a 520 on top of that? A couple of reasons. Number one, the phone works just fine without a SIM. So when I bought this, I didn't have a SIM that would fit in it. I had my old Android phone that had the full-size SIM. This one's got the micro SIM. It wouldn't fit, but I could set this up and configure it and all that with nothing but a Wi-Fi connection. So I could set it up and play with it and do whatever without actually hooking it up to a phone network. The 520 is the same way. So if you're not going to use it as a phone, what good is this Lumia 520? I am glad you asked. So the 520 obviously will play music because you're getting the Xbox Music thing with it. So you can use it as an MP3 player. Unlike the 920, the 520 does have a micro SD slot, so you can drop a 64 gig memory card in there, load it up with music, stream anytime you're around Wi-Fi if you want to. You can do that. The 520 has a bunch of these camera apps that the 920 does. Not as great. The camera's not as great as my beloved 920 here, but pretty good still, so you can do that. The navigation app, the GPS app on the 520 works great without a SIM if you want to use that. And it can also do offline maps. So if you don't have a phone connection, you can tell the navigation, the Nokia navigation thing, download all the maps for Iowa. And then it works offline. You don't need that phone connection if you don't have it. Also, if you do any kind of international traveling, the translation app works really great. And again, it works offline. So even if you don't want to use it as your phone, or if you do, it's still a great thing. And if you're going to use the Xbox Music anyway, the phone is for free. So, so it's pretty good stuff. I will likely do that. I've been wanting to buy a 520 just to play with for a while, and been thinking about doing the Xbox Music thing. So, so I might just go ahead and do that. But you can find out about that at wpcentral.com, or that deal is all over. But basically, you just go to the Microsoft Store and browse from there. So I would love to know. I've talked to a couple people who have gotten 520s and all that. I would love to know if you end up getting one of these 520s, what you think of it. If you already have an AT&T phone like I did, you can just swap the SIMs out. So like if your work pays for your phone or whatever, you got an iPhone, you can just swap the SIMs out. Try the Windows Phone out, see if you like it. Good stuff. You can't go wrong for $100. All right, more of the same kind of stuff. We all talk about living large. Everybody wants to live large. Well, my man, Mike Ganotti, he likes to live small. And Mike, much like myself, has gone out and bought a Dell Venue 8 Pro. So that's this little number here. This is an 8-inch Windows tablet, and it runs full Windows. So this isn't RT or whatever. You can load EXEs or whatever on it. Whatever you want to do with Windows, you can do with this Dell Venue 8 Pro, also known as the DV8 to its friends and enemies alike. So Mike Ganotti has one of these. He's put a bunch of blog posts out about it, a bunch of YouTube videos and all that. Well, last week Mike was in Seattle for Tech Ready, and Mike normally lives in Philadelphia, I think, somewhere like that. So he was traveling, and he's got this Living Small blog post talking about how it was traveling with his Dell Venue 8 Pro. And I think the blog post has him too. He did some videos also. I think the blog post links him. I don't remember. If not, go to his YouTube page. But he just talked about how he traveled for a week with nothing but this, how he did blog posts and how he took notes and all that kind of stuff. So If you've got a Dell Venue 8 Pro, it's a pretty interesting thing to take a look at and see how he did it, what worked, what didn't work. He's pretty clear about what didn't work. He even starts his blog post with what didn't work. So he's upfront about all that. I'm liking my Dell Venue 8 Pro. I don't think I use mine as much as Mike uses his, but it's a good little computer. So it's got some quirks we've talked about in previous netcasts, but overall I like it. Now, this is kind of off the beaten track. Lori Gowan also has one of these, and she recommended this great little case. And I already had a case for the DV8, and I was okay with it. But this case has a built-in Bluetooth keyboard, so that's pretty cool. And something that Lori told me, but I promptly forgot, is that the keyboard comes off. So you can use it, and it's got the little prop thing here, so you can stand your DV8 up, and prop it up and read it. So this was a pretty awesome little case. Now, this was not a DV8 specific case. It was for any 7 or 8 inch tablets. And so I went out and grabbed one. And the best thing about this, how much would you pay for something like this? Right, so it's a case. It's a stand. You can prop it up like that. It's a Bluetooth keyboard. I mean, an industry standard Bluetooth keyboard, everything. And it's releasable. It's got magnets. How much would you pay for this? Yeah, it's $25, $26 for all this. So I grabbed one of those. Oh, and it charges with micro USB. How awesome is that? Everything that I've got charges with micro USB. So it's pretty slick. So I ran out, got one lickety split, and have been loving it. Now, again, this is for 7 and 8 inch tablets. And for those of you who are paying attention, the DV8 is an 8 inch tablet. And so I've had it in there for a while now. I discovered a bad part about this particular little case. So the way this works is there are straps in the corners with little clips that you that you slide out to fit your thing in, your tablet in. That DV8, being 8 inches of the 7 to 8 inches, kind of has these things at the edge of their straps. These little clips here that hold it in place are plastic. And I was taking it out the other day, and so these things were already stretched really hard, and I stretched it just a little bit more to get it out of get the corner out, and I broke 3 of them. 3. That's the only one that survived. So that's a couple of things. Number one, I just wasn't. I mean, I don't know if you've seen these guns. This is a lot to deal with here. So I might not have just known my own strength. Number 2, so I just wasn't paying attention. I just kind of grabbed it and it snapped. And number 2, I used it for a couple of weeks and had no problems with it. It was just when I started fiddling with it, it broke. So I have actually already ordered another one. So Jack in the chat room is like, he's got his mouse over add to cart. He's ready to check out. He's ready to make this happen. And now I've got him worried. No, I have already ordered another one of these because I like it. I like it so much. So what I will do in the future is I will not fiddle with it so much. And I will just be more careful. Oh, yeah. So Lori in the chat room, she's like, yeah, you big dummy. You don't just yank on it. You slide it around the corner. That would probably work better. Huh. I'll be damned. Yeah, so what she's saying, so it normally sits in the corner, which is probably what I should be doing now. Sits in the corner like that. So she's saying instead of just being a big dummy and pulling on it with all your might, you just kind of slide it around like that. Yeah, that makes more sense. I think you should do that. So if you've got a 7 or 8 inch tablet, I've also got a Nexus 7, an old Google tablet that I'll probably get one of these for. This is a great little case. It's $25. It's got the stand. It's got the keyboard. It's pretty great. So think about grabbing one of those. And don't be a Neanderthal and break it like I broke mine. And for those of you who are listening listening to the audio version of this, if you go out to Amazon and search for MoCo, M-O-K-O, it's the MoCo wireless Bluetooth keyboard. And again, it's not a DV8 Dell Venue 8 Pro specific device. It's just for 7 and 8 inch tablets. And so that's one thing I think about. I forget about. So I've probably got 30 people in the chat room now, something like that, 20 people. And so I'm putting these links in here, all that. And then when I do the video for this, I put lower thirds down here so that when I'm talking about stuff, people can see the names and they can see the links. The funny thing is that of the three audiences, the live chat room, the video downloads, and the audio downloads, the live chat room and the video downloads are like 7% of the people that listen to this. The audio downloads are like more than 90%, and they're the ones that get the shaft. I don't do a good job of saying what the links are and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing. Jack is saying now he's jealous. He wants live lower thirds. Jack, I think your subscription rate's going to have to go up a little bit. But so for your folks listening to audio, I will make a conscientious effort to speak these things out. Now, for all of these things, any link that I put in the chat room also goes into the show notes. So if you go to toddklindt.com/blog and find the Netcast, this one is Netcast 187. There's links there to everything. And you can also do them on YouTube, and I try to put them like by the times, so it's all in order and all that. So thanks to my very patient, forgiving audio listeners. You're the backbone of this great production. So speaking of traveling with tablets and all that, last year, November-ish, I got a Surface Pro 2, a tablet, and switched over to it for my daily driver. So it is what I use 4 hours a day while I'm working. But it's, email and all that. I've got it driving 4 monitors. I've got it driving the 2 monitors in front of me, its own monitor, and then now that monitor, but usually it's that 40-inch TV up there. It is my daily driver. And I use it like a desktop computer. So it's got constant power, wired network connection, keyboard, mouse, all that kind of stuff. But then when I travel, I also take it when I travel. So unfortunately, the way I have things set up as a desktop are not the way that I use things when I want it as a tablet, if I'm at a conference or on a plane or whatever. And so I've been very conscientious when I'm installing things to go into Task Manager and shut off any auto-running things like Dropbox, for goodness sakes. That thing will cut your battery life into about 1/4 if you leave that thing running. But when I'm at my desk, I want those things running because I want that full functionality. I've got power, I've got network, there's no reason not to. So I stumbled across a link this week. Now this is for the original Surface Pro, but it's applicable to any of these tablets, the DV8, the Surface Pro 2, whatever. It's at allthatnerdystuff.com, and the guy wrote it a few months ago. But it's how to create a power profile on your Surface or DV8 or whatever to maximize battery life. And this has got a bunch of brilliant stuff in it. So we all know things like shut the brightness down on your screen, things like that. So he's got all those, but he's also got a bunch of things like USB settings and network settings and graphics settings, PCI Express settings, cooling settings, all kinds of things that limit how fast your CPU can go, all these great things to get the most battery life out of your tablet. And again, this is something that is as applicable to this device, this 8-inch tablet, as it is the Surface Pro that I can't pick up because it's running the slides that we're watching. So if you've got one of these Windows 8 tablets and you're trying to figure out, is it a desktop, is it a tablet, is it a laptop, setting up one of these profiles is a great way to have your cake and eat it too. Now he brings up an interesting thing. He's like, when you're setting this custom profile up, you can set it up for on battery or on power. And if it's on power, max everything out. Don't even worry about it. Don't touch it. But then for the on battery stuff, then make all these changes. So I liked all these things. I haven't traveled since I read this, so I can't tell you if it's been good or not. But reading it over, it looks pretty solid stuff. So that was written by a guy named Jason Ward. So Jason, thanks for that. Doug in the chat room is aghast. He's saying, wait, are you telling me that you use a single operating system in different ways, depending on whether you're mobile or at your desktop? That is exactly the line that I'm trying to feed you, Doug. That's exactly it. And in all seriousness, that's kind of where Microsoft went wrong with Windows 8. They completely forgot about, kind of like I did with the audio, they forgot about the 93% of the Windows users that are at a desktop, and they said, we need to make this new OS awesome for tablet users, and they kind of left everybody out. But now we've got these tablets. Mike Ganotti uses his Venue 8 Pro as a desktop. I'm not quite there yet, but I think the operating system, I think Windows 8, 8.1, is probably at a spot where you can do both, but you need some of these tweaks, these power tweaks and things like that. It's getting there, and I welcome it. It's awesome now for me to have all the things that I install on my my work computer, and then when I travel, it's just all there. But it's not this huge laptop. I'm not schlepping that thing around. I've just got this little 2-pound device that's got like 8 or 9 hours of battery life on it. It's good stuff. We're getting there. We're getting there. And speaking of, so this was an interesting thing that's come up too, and I don't know if it's still in effect or not. But there was a sale, it looks like it might be over. There was a sale on the original Surface Pros, so not the Surface Pro 2, the Surface Pro, and they were kind of fire selling them at $500. Now I'm going to put a link in the chat room. It doesn't look like they're $500 anymore, but they were this weekend when I made my notes. But it looks like Microsoft is trying to get rid of the old Surface Pros. The Surface Pro 2 is already out, and we've already heard about kind of a Surface Pro 2.1 that's going to have some processor upgrades and things like that. So they're looking to get rid of these original Surface Pros. Now, when I looked this weekend, this was, so Jack's seeing $499. Good. I'm seeing $679. But the 128 gig original Surface Pro, $500. It was also $500 at Best Buy online also. So if you're thinking about getting a tablet that you want to use as a laptop and a tablet and all that, now they're $500. Not a bad price for the original Surface Pro. So if you've kind of been on the fence, here's the time. It's a good buy at $500. Maybe not so good at $899, but $500 is pretty good. And again, I don't know how long that will last. Okay, so I thought I would mention some more SharePoint stuff. This one just came across. One of my coworkers sent this out right before I went on the air, and it was pretty good, so I thought I would include it. Shout out to my coworker John. There have been a lot of age-old conflicts back through the years, and they've been going on forever. If you've seen the movie Pulp Fiction, there's the scene at Jackrabbit Slim's where they're talking about whether you're a Elvis man or a Beatles man, those kind of things. Kind of one of those two types of people in the world. So in the SharePoint world, there are two types of people when it comes to content, and those are people that use folders and people that use metadata. And it's close to religion. It's not as bad as like the Coke versus Pepsi, or Chevy and Ford, or I forget those two guys in Twilight, Charlie and Frank. I forget what their names are. Almost as polarizing as Charlie and Frank, but not quite. But there's this idea when you're putting documents in a document library, should you use folders to sort your data out, or should you use metadata? So have everything flat, but have different fields and tag the fields. And there's compelling arguments for both, and I think in both cases, except for the Charlie and Frank one, there's probably room for both. You just have to understand what your situation is. And this TechNet article kind of gives the advantages and disadvantages of both. So the advantages of folders are things like it's easier to put permissions on a folder. You can't really do that with metadata. Kind of, if you're used to the file system stuff from file servers and all that, it's a little easier to move people into. It's easier for Explorer view because you don't have this one big thing with all your documents in it. And there was one interesting thing that I didn't know in there, that you can go to a view for your document library and flatten the view. So you can make a custom view for your library and say, don't show folders. It just flattens them. I didn't know you could do that. So those are some of the things. There are disadvantages, things like it can make your URLs too long. There's a finite number of those. Some of the web parts don't render them correctly, so you should use metadata instead. So kind of throw that out there, because again, people have this discussion all the time. So this one web page had pretty much all the things I've ever heard people talk about. So after you've figured out who you like better, Frank or Charlie, in the Twilight movies, you can use this link to decide if you should do folders or metadata. And I like that one so much I opened it in two browsers. So finally, the last thing that I wanted to talk about, and you guys got to see some of the work in progress last week and maybe the week before, I can't remember, is for the SharePoint conference. They asked us all to make promotional videos for our sessions. And so Shane and I, the shy little flowers that we are, decided that we would just make goofy, silly, raunchy-ish sort of silly videos for our sessions. So you can go out to youtube.com/SharePoint Racks, and that's R-A-X, SharePoint Racks, and you can see the 3 videos that we did. So since we have 3 sessions, they let us do 3 videos, and Shane got the idea that we should do an interview series where Shane has a bobblehead of himself that some of his coworkers got him long before I started SharePoint 911. And his bobblehead would interview me portraying different characters. And those characters were pretty much decided by him and I and Justin, our marketing guy, were sitting here, and it was just things I could see in my room. So one of the things was the cowboy hat that Rackspace gave me when I came on board a couple of years ago. And we were talking about the green screen that was behind me, and Justin was talking about how he could put a space skate back there, so I became the Space Cowboy. And then my daughter has a Little Mermaid guitar over here, so then I became Todd Klindt, the rock star. And so we kind of had fun with those videos. They're kind of silly, but they actually do tell what the sessions are about. So there are 3 episodes. You got to watch them in order, or the story doesn't make any sense. You can't watch episode 3, then watch episode 2. It'll be all out of order. It won't make any sense. So check those out, and I need to blog those, and I forgot. I'll do that tomorrow, but it's at youtube.com/SharePoint Racks. Good fun, all that, and I think the idea is going to be, for those of you going to the SharePoint conference, for every session, if you browse inside of the thing, if you gave them a link to that YouTube video, there will be that video there. So a couple of my coworkers, Jennifer Mason and Laura Rogers, also made a video. They were a little more professional about their video than us. There were no orange wigs, for instance, no Little Mermaid guitars, no cats trying to chew my finger off, none of that kind of stuff. Their videos were way more professional. But check those out, and let me know what you think. Leave comments on YouTube and do all that kind of stuff. So speaking of the SharePoint conference, let's move on to everybody's favorite part of this show, the shameless self-promotion. And I so need to record a jingle for that. That is just begging for a jingle. So you, as I just mentioned, the SharePoint conference is in a month, 30 days from now. This is, I'm going to be in Vegas. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be talking about SharePoint, and it's going to be a good time. So we will be doing a pre-conference session. And that's going to be all about install and upgrade and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to be doing 3 other sessions, one for each of the great videos that we did. One of them is going to be, and I hate to say this, load testing SharePoint with Visual Studio 2013. Shane and I are going to be firing up Visual Studio and showing you how you can set up tests inside of Visual Studio to hammer against your SharePoint farms, kind of see where they break, see what the load limits are, things like that. The next one we're going to be doing is nuts and bolts of upgrading SharePoint. So we're going to be talking about all the great things there. And then finally, we're going to be doing a PowerShell session, and this is going to be PowerShell on-premises and SharePoint online. So check that out, SharePointConference.com. Still time to sign up for that, and that is March 3rd through the 6th, unless you go to the pre-con, and then it's March 2nd for the pre-con. So then in the next month, in April 22nd through the 25th, Shane and I will be at SP TechCon in San Francisco. So you can go to SP TechCon and find out about that. We're going to be doing a pre-conference there too, a lot of the same sessions. And then in May, it's Microsoft Tech Ed North America. That's May 12th through the 15th, and that is in sunny, beautiful, by the Gulf, Houston, Texas. Big party at Naomi's house every night. We're just going to sleep in her yard. But so that's Microsoft Tech Ed, May 12th through the 15th. Shane and I'll be doing the same pre-conference there, and then some sessions. They haven't gotten back and told us what sessions we'll be doing yet, but we're going to be doing that there. And then a mystery event. Hopefully, I think this one's almost been cleared, but there's a couple of events in the summer that I'm hoping to be going to. Have got tentative clearance on those, but before that all is you know, the ink is dry and all that kind of stuff, but be paying attention to that. So hopefully be making a couple of more appearances this year. So that is it for tonight. A couple of questions in the chat room. Jack asked, did we film those in my basement with the green sheet? Yep, absolutely. So and that's why last week's Netcast number 186 had a crazy green thing, because we were filming those. So put that up, took the stuff down, covered it up with another green sheet, got rid of the chair. I have a stool that I sat on, kind of raised everything up, and then had Shane going on Skype. It was recording Skype, and that's how we got the video for all that. And then we send all that video to Justin, and he did all the green screening and made it look good. And Jack also asked, where did Shane get the bobblehead? So like 5 or 6 years ago, John Ross and Randy Driscoll worked at SharePoint 911 before I came on board. They bought it for him for Christmas. I don't know where they ordered it, but they had to send a bunch of pictures of Shane to this place, and they made a bobblehead. So I'm sure they're out there. Sure they can get them somewhere. So thanks, everybody. I would say I ran long tonight, but this is about the normal time this thing takes. So thanks, everybody. I've gotten some emails from folks with questions about stuff. Thank you for that. You can email me at todd.klindt@rackspace.com or hit me up on Twitter at toddklindt. Thanks to everybody for your time. Have a good week. And if you, like I said, questions or comments, shoot me an email. If not, thanks again, and I'll see you next week.